Dear Commodore Harry, can you give me specific dolphins to follow in order to become... Dear Captain Harv, can you give me specific steps to follow in order to become and remain a proficient pilot? Yes. Yes, I can. I know what you're thinking. Captain Harv, nobody can make a specific list like that. Many have tried, and all fall short. But as you know, I'm not nobody. Today, I'm going to hand you the holy grail of piloting knowledge so that you too can become and remain a proficient pilot. But first, you need to know how to define and measure proficiency. Proficiency can be determined by how well a pilot is prepared to handle both anticipated and unanticipated events and circumstances. For example, a pilot who hones their skills recovering from a power-on stall so expertly that the ball never wavers and their altitude barely changes is proficient in power-on stall recoveries that they intentionally perform. In other words, if they know the stall is coming, they perform the recovery perfectly. But a pilot who hones their skills and experience to safely recover from an inadvertent departure stall is proficient in power-on stall recoveries during takeoff that surprise them. That's a big difference compared to recovering from an intentional stall at altitude. And further, a pilot who hones their skills to avoid circumstances that could lead to a departure stall in the first place can be said to be proficient in situational awareness and in practicing good procedures. Regardless of their stall recovery skills, the pilot is good at avoiding departure stalls in the first place. And that is the sort of pilot you want to be flying with. So why don't we just practice departure procedures until they're perfect and forget about mastering stall technique? That'd be fine, except even the most perfect pilot in the history of the world isn't perfect 100% of the time. That bird strike could have happened to anyone. Besides, that buzzard was in my airspace. You never know when you might need that basic stick and rudder skill set. Because of this, you should endeavor to keep all of your flying skills in top form. Now, if we stop here and ask 3 different pilots what defines proficiency based on this example, we'll get 3 different answers. You can go crazy debating other pilots about how not getting into a departure stall in the first place is the most important factor, while another pilot might respond by saying, you can't ensure it'll never happen, and thus you should emphasize detection and recovery skills above all else. Let's face it, these debates are impossible to win because there is no right answer for a specific situation that applies all the time to all pilots. There are just too many factors involved. But you didn't come here just to learn how to be proficient in departure stalls now, did you? You want to know how to tell if you're a proficient pilot in all circumstances. Fortunately, proficiency can be determined by answering 3 simple questions. 1. How often do you do things required to stay proficient? B. 2. How many of the required elements of proficiency do you do? And last, 3. How well do you do them? The good news here is you can manage what you can measure. So if you're doing all the things you're supposed to, frequently, and doing them well, or at least getting better each time, your proficiency can't help but improve. Now I know what you're thinking. Captain Harv, where's the list of things a pilot needs to do in order to stay proficient? Well, gird your loins. Here it comes. This is a realistic list with measurable elements that are guaranteed to work. Flying is not like riding a bicycle. You can't just stop for a few months and then hop back on for a lovely ride down a tree-filled lane. Flying is more like speaking a foreign language. If you learn, say, German to the point of fluency, but then stop speaking German for a few months, you'll find yourself struggling to keep up in conversation when you unexpectedly meet a beautiful aviatrix from Dusseldorf. Sure, you'll be able to have a basic conversation, but you'll be sweating bullets and you'll have to work hard at it. And it'll show as you struggle how to remember how to say, "Would you join me for dinner?" It's embarrassing when you accidentally ask if she would join you for a strudel and baseball and a boot full of Septemberfest. I never even made it to first base with her. The strudel was good though. And if you can't get into the air, no problem. Hop on a simulator or take yourself for a chair flight. In this day and age, reading printed material on actual paper is passé. We consume our content online, which means we're actually watching videos. So, in addition to reading any pilot magazines you may receive, reading online content, watching online videos from reputable sources, webinars from pilot groups, things of that nature, they're a great way to stay on top of keeping the knowledge you already have fresh and learning new things. Whoever said practice makes perfect perfectly misled you. Practice is super important, but only if you're paying attention while practicing and trying to achieve a next level goal you've set for yourself. Let's say the last time you went flying, you really botched the landing. And by botched, I mean the other pilots at the fly-in barbecue wouldn't make eye contact with you when you got in line for ribs. They all saw your side-loading skid of a landing and a gentle 5-knot crosswind. Look, there's actually no sin in having a dog-ugly landing once in a while. The sin occurs when you don't dedicate yourself to analyzing the cause of your less-than-stellar landing and address it by reading up on crosswind technique, assuming your technique is what caused the problem, followed by a healthy amount of practice until you are consistently greasing it on. When you consciously and consistently tell yourself that learning about the craft of piloting an aeroplane is important, it will become important. Funny how the mind works, but it's absolutely true. To help increase your motivation to keep learning, schedule time each week to dedicate yourself to learning something new about flying as it relates to you as a pilot. When you make yourself a part of the story, your eagerness to learn and your ability to retain and understand that learning both increase dramatically. It should be a mark on your calendar that you joyfully look forward to each time you do it. You can achieve this feeling by either challenging yourself to learn and using that knowledge in some aspect of flying, or delving into subjects that are intrinsically interesting to you. Maybe some other way only you know about. Regardless, it should be high on your priority list because learning ensures that your mind is in the right place regularly, thinking and learning about flying. And when you think and learn about flying often, it's proven that you will be a better pilot on the flight deck. So back to that departure stall. Imagine that you found yourself in that situation right now, right this second. Okay, remember that feeling. Now, imagine it's happening, but for the past 3 months, you've been flying often, reading much, aiming for perfection with each flight, and spending a little dedicated time each week learning. How's that feeling compared to the first feeling? You have chosen wisely, and you're welcome.